Congratulations, Paul, and the best of good luck for your term of office. Tourism is actually in a very good place now, but you want to build further on that. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, I think tourism is a very good place. The first quarter and this year we're up 14% on our arrivals, which is super, great result. And it looks like the wind is in our sails in tourism, but we need to build on that and we need to be careful. I mean, tourism is incredibly fragile. It doesn't take very much to upset progress. So we'll be very keen in ITIC to push forward all the initiatives that need to take place right now to make sure that we continue to grow tourism, that it becomes nationwide in its growth, and that all sectors are touched by the expansion we should be enjoying in this country.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see the government's tourism policy document finally published, but you're not overly impressed with some of the targets there?
No, I think the targets are not as ambitious as I think we will achieve. So if you look back at the previous target the government had set, 2003 to 2013, we're in a very similar space. In fact, 10 million is exactly the same figure, except we're going to have to wait to 2025 to actually achieve that. We're sitting this year probably very close to about 7.8 million. And I think, why would we have to spend the next 10 years trying to get the next two? Particularly when you look at sort of the new assets we have in tourism. Yeah, and Dublin activities yet to be triggered through the Dublin Task Force. We came up with that Dublin had the potential to grow by another 2 million visitors on its own. And that's the 7.5 or 7.8. You're already pretty much at 10 million. Yeah. And really, I think tourism is a long way to go. And I know that people in this industry wouldn't limit themselves to a target of 10 million.
Sure.
And I'm sure the agencies won't either.
Sure. But realistically, Paul, is it not the case that the policy document targets couldn't actually fit in Dublin particularly unless we get additional capacity built? And how do you see that being accommodated or coming about?
There's a couple of things actually in the Dublin situation that kind of concerns us. I think one is that Dublin as a geographical area needs to be expanded. So I think we're going to have to educate the market that Dublin isn't just between the canals. So I think we have a bit of a task in tourism to convince people supplying business into Dublin that Dublin's a far bigger region than just the canals, because we do have capacity outside of the two canals. Yeah. But if it is a Dublin city centre only led demand and the supply is certainly not there, capacity is an issue. But hotels won't be built and aren't being built at the moment because the replacement value of hotels simply isn't there. So it's cheaper at the moment to buy existing stock. And until such time as pressures on either commercial or residential ease off, sites become available, I'm afraid the capacity in Dublin may actually damage the industry over the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. So some challenges there for sure. You passionately believe that if tourism is going to reach its potential, then the government must step up with a meaningful capital investment programme for the sector over the coming years. How much do you think realistically needs to be invested, and how do you convince them that tourism is the place to put that money as distinct from other sectors?
Yeah, I think it's important that we look to address this area particularly. I think tourism is quite starved of capital. If you take the OPW, their budget 2 or 3 years ago was 17 million. This year is 380,000. They are designed to try to make that stretch over all the national monuments and assets they mined on our behalf, and they're crucially important to the fabric of tourism. If you take agriculture and marine, they will receive roughly about 168 million euros this year in capital. We'll receive about 17 million. Our export value this year will be about somewhere around 3.5 billion. On that basis, agriculture gets 10 times more capital per revenue than tourism. It's simply not enough. If you look at the jobs associated with that, agriculture and marine, somewhere around 105,000, tourism very close to, probably close to 200,000, depends on where you want to measure from. Sure. And I think it's critical that the government sees the potential, because this money is required to refresh and renew some of the assets we already have. Sure. We need to create new assets, particularly on the spine of Ireland, along the Lakelands and Midlands regions, where really tourists don't really darken those doors, except for the domestic market. Sure. And it's fine having the Atlantic Way and building on that and making it even better. And now with the Ancient East, there's a lot more we need to do in order to really develop tourism and give it the spread it requires.
Sure. And you've actually made a strong submission to the Minister already on this, where you believe that a figure of about 250 million over the 5-year period, 2016 to 2020, would make a huge difference and is badly needed.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's only 50 million euros a year. I mean, that is not big money when you look at tourism receipts.
And when you look at the number of jobs that it's delivered.
Yeah, and the potential. I mean, we're looking at probably about another 50,000 jobs and more. I mean, you look at all the indicators in the market right now. Dublin Airport's nearly back at capacity. In fact, it's back at the height of its throughput in passenger numbers.
That's right.
All the indicators are very positive. Yeah. We don't want to limit ourselves now in our potential to grow by either having a capacity issue or that we don't have the assets in which to promote Ireland as being new, fresh and exciting.
Yeah. Well, certainly there are loads of challenges ahead, despite the fact that we are doing good, but they're all of a positive nature, let's face it. But looking a little bit further down the road in, say, 10 years' time, how do you see tourism?
Well, I see tourism kind of oddly. I think the target will be well beaten. In fact, if you were to ask me, I think the Minister, the Taoiseach of the day will be someone like Leo Varadkar, probably take the Lewis from Dublin City Centre out to Dublin Airport. He will be welcoming the 13 million guests to arrive in Ireland, who probably have come off a British Airways flight direct from Beijing. I think it's all to play for, and I think if the industry can respond positively and the government come along with us, I think it's all for grabs.
Well, on that very positive note, Paul, we'll leave it there and wish you the very best of luck with your next 2-year term of office as Chairman of ITIC.
Thanks, Sam.